Masaood Automobile has over the past 40 years been iconic in the automotive industry. It is the sole distributor of Nissan, Renault and Infiniti in Abu Dhabi, Al Ain and the Western region. It has achieved 68% success and growth after it launched its online platform and virtual live experience to its customers. Today for Forbes Special Report, we interview Mr. Irfan Tansel, the CEO of Masaood Automobile. He's also known as the industry expert in electrification and the automotive industry and was selected by Forbes Middle East as one of the top CEOs in the region. The interview will take place in one of the N-Ready showrooms, the first of its kind in the UAE. So welcome Mr. Irfan Tansel, CEO of Masaood Automobiles. Thank you for attending today. Do you think e-commerce platforms will continue to play a big part in the automobile industry?
Yes, definitely. Not only in automotive, but in wider commerce. Digital platforms are coming along very, very well. Partially also fueled by COVID situation that we had over the past 2 years. But in general, at Masaood Automobiles, we have been lucky to have a foresight. In 2019, before COVID, we started with our e-commerce platform. And we have established it and launched it in September 2019. It is definitely the way the shopping behavior and consumer behavior is changing. I mean, if you take a look at today and compare it with a couple of years ago, the way you buy food, the way you go shopping, the way you look at this whole buying experience and the journey, it's starting with digital and e-commerce platforms. Yeah.
Fantastic. And so tell us a little bit more about this platform that you've launched at Masaood Automobiles and how has it changed the way or the customer's behavior?
Yeah, I mean, in our industry, obviously we are very much data-driven businesses. So if you take a look at it, for example, until about 10 years ago, customers would be coming to showrooms 5-6 times before they decide to buy a vehicle. Today, the average is less than 1.5 because all their journey of trying to select the vehicle, find out which one is the right for themselves, that goes through digital channels. So when customers come into the showroom, they nearly have made up their mind what they want and which brand and which color. So that's why it is very important that we continue looking into digital transformation of our customer offerings. And that has been the same. I mean, in Masaood Automobiles, it's not only e-commerce that we have launched where you have the customers have possibility to have an interactive life finance schemes, calculate their finance terms, select the cars. The platform is interfaced with our DMS so they can see our stock, our locations, prices, options. And of course, on top of this, during COVID period, I'm very proud to tell this story because we have established a interactive showroom experience for our customers within 10 days of COVID's arrival in Abu Dhabi.
Wow.
Where customers were able to experience a showroom environment at home at the comfort of their living room couch. So they were able to see the vehicle, talk to the sales consultants, find out about prices, about options, anything that they wanted to have. And we followed this up, of course, also providing customers a delivery to their home. In e-commerce, they are able to make the payments as well. So if they chose to not visit the dealership at all, that was also possible. So we bring the vehicle to their home, they see the vehicle, they sign the contract, and the payment is made, and there you go.
Amazing. And I understand there was an increase of sales during the 2019-2020 period as a result of launching that platform and that customer experience. Is that right?
That's correct. I mean, the digital platforms have increased our sales by about 23%.
Fantastic.
During this period. Our retail sales in 2020, during the year of COVID, has actually increased by 18%.
Oh,
So
brilliant.
18% increase at a time where people were reluctant to go out and visit showrooms. That was because of the effect of the e-commerce and the digital platforms that we have invested in, which made our customers' lives easier. And it didn't stop with selling vehicles. We also have launched pick-up and drop-off services for our existing customers. And that was a big hit, I must say. Everybody has taken advantage of this offering. And it was also, again, digitally connected with Al Masaood app. So they can book the vehicle, they can get a drop-off and pick-up service. And not only that, but during the servicing, they can trace their car. They can see if the electrical jobs are done, if the service is done, if the vehicle is at washing, if the invoice was made, so they could trace them.
So, Mr. Irfan, electrification and autonomous vehicles are the trend at the moment. How important is it for Al Masaood Automobiles to really stay ahead of this technological change?
Yeah, it's time. It's time for change in bringing new technologies to this part of the world. We already are working very closely with our principals, Nissan, Infiniti, and Renault, bringing new technologies such as electric vehicles, which we already have. We have brought in a couple of years ago Renault Zoe. Before we get into these details, I must also stress out we are very privileged to be working with giants of Nissan and Renault and Infiniti. In fact, Renault, in electric vehicles, they have sold more electric vehicles in Europe than any other manufacturers last year in 2020.
Very impressive.
And in terms of Nissan was the forefather of electric vehicles. They have the only electric vehicle Leaf that's in its second generation right now and has sold over 500,000 vehicles around the world. So these technologies are here, they are coming.
Absolutely.
Autonomous driving vehicles are obviously up and coming. There are a lot of tests happening all around the world by the manufacturers. It is not in its final stage yet, because autonomous vehicles are very, very sensitive to environment, to weather conditions, to obstacles on the road. That needs to be all, assured that everything is safe. Autonomous driving is also, it requires a lot of training to people, Who wants to sit at the back seat of the car and there's no driver?
Isn't it? Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So it needs education. It needs legislation. Insurance companies, the country's laws have to be changed. Who do you hold accountable, if anything happens when there's no driver?
Very
At
true.
the moment, you give your driver license away if you fail to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So these are some of the challenges that are coming up. But as I always say, it's not about if, it's about when. And they are up and they are coming. The other factor that's quite a risk for autonomous vehicles, as the vehicles become autonomous and widely connected to its surroundings and other vehicles, there comes obviously the risk of cyber attacks. Right? When you see today that some of those malicious attempts are crumbling countries and banks and institutions. So what's going to happen to our vehicles? So all these aspects are being looked at the moment by the manufacturers. They are trying to secure all sort of coverage for any eventual risk. But it is coming, and we at Masaood Automobiles, we are gearing up for any upcoming new technologies. In terms of electric vehicles, what we have here today, United Arab Emirates is obviously at the forefront of any innovation that
innovation
comes,
changes,
right?
absolutely.
And but there is more work to be done. There's no more work to be done for electric vehicles in terms of infrastructure, in terms of charging stations. I know for a fact that a lot of people have already electric vehicles, but majority of those who have electric vehicles live in single houses and in villas where they have their own chargers, where they charge overnight. But in general public, people living in high-rise buildings, for example, or don't have access to charging station that's owned by them. These are areas where government is looking into and investing. There are incentive programs being implemented by the government to drive electric vehicle cells. But there's an element more to be done. And we are really looking forward for all this change that's going to bring more sustainability to our environment. And United Arab Emirates has already announced its ambition of carbon neutrality in 2050. And I'm very, very sure that we will get there when the time has come.
I think so too, definitely. So for the last question, I think because you've already talked a lot about the challenges, I guess the opportunities and what we can expect to see in the very near future, considering your vast experience across the brands and geographies, what is the key to success in the automotive industry in the Middle East?
I think, experience is obviously very, very valuable. However, I think people have to look into the future. And, all the discussion that we had today is about innovation. It's about new technologies. It's about new ways of buying things. So any organization, automotive or non, companies need to focus on innovation. Companies need to focus on taking leadership into the firsts. I mean, you have to remember, we are a representative of a car manufacturing. However, we don't produce cars as Masaood Automobiles. Our product is the way we serve our customers, the way we service their cars, the way we provide convenience for their transportation needs. And that is also required with innovation. And we continue fostering innovation in our organization. And going forward, for anyone that's in automotive business, you can't really resist change. You got to,
very true.
And the key is to stay ahead of competition. And if you take a look at today, we have driven over the past 4 years very successfully our midterm strategy, where we have invested heavily on people. People makes the brand. We have a wonderful team of men and women in our organization that is constantly focused on looking into new ways of doing things. And at the core of everything we do is our customers, of course. We are a very customer-centric company. And customers' convenience, customers' comfort, customers' safety is before anything else that we do. And for businesses to flourish, obviously they have to aim high. You know, ambition is very, very important in everything you do. You know,
Absolutely,
in life.
absolutely.
And then you need to create a plan. You need to, and the plans sometimes don't necessarily work out. But a bad plan is still a better plan than having no plan.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
That's a really good point. Yes,
you
yes.
know, if you live from here today and you want to go home, and if you don't plan which road you're going to take, God knows where you might end up,
That's
right?
true.
So, and during this journey and having established a fantastic team, plans may not work out as it does. I mean, we have seen it in our midterm plan. We were faced with COVID that nobody knew.
That was on nobody's
what was
agenda,
coming,
was
right?
it? Yes.
And,
Yes.
and again, you know, the innovation culture, the trust culture, and the team that we have established quickly overcame these obstacles that were not seen. And lastly, obviously, you know, drive is very, very important, that people keep driving towards the goal that they have set. You may have to take a little detour here and there,
Yeah.
but the aim is to get there.
To get there in the end,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, having said all this, our sector and our business as distributors and dealers, we are getting into quite a challenging time, because all these innovations are going to create an element of loss of revenues. Mm-hmm. And if you take a look at, for example, electric car has 10 times less moving parts than a regular fuel cell car. So there's going to be lesser need of services in terms of after sales, right? Spare parts, and which are quite the backbone of our current business. Okay. So there is an expectation that after sales service and parts business is going to drop by 50-60% in the coming years. The more electric cars, the lesser parts are going to fail. So we have to get ready for those. You know, it doesn't help if you sit down and think about it.
So do you have a plan then to pivot the business? And
so we go back to the 5 aspects that I have talked about. Planning the right things and having the ambition and having the right team, you know, having the detours as well.
Yes, yes.
And focus on the goal.
Very good. Well, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to interview today for Forbes Special Report, Mr. Irfan Tansel. Thank you.
Well, it was my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome.